Okay, so I wanted to do a little bit of a video here that showed you some of my editing process. Wait, don't go yet. Look, I know this isn't the most interesting topic, but I promise you if you stick with this video, even fast forward if you need to, you're going to learn one or two things about how we approach the images. If you really are a photographer that takes the work seriously, this video is here just to make you think. I tried to keep it as short as possible. Stick around to the end. I promise you it's going to be worth it. If you haven't watched a retouching video before, my goal here was to not put you through all the steps that I do. Having an actual clock on it as I screen recorded it really kind of proves that I'm going a bit overkill. And the biggest thing that I really wanted this video to do, more than anything else, is make you think about what you're doing when you're retouching. So when you have a client, of course, you want to get it through as fast as possible and make sure you can get it delivered and finished. But when it's a personal project, it's really a chance to take a step back, not worry about speed, and focus more on why you're doing something, not just getting it done. And in this image in particular, it was a chance to really go through the minute details and study things. And that's what I was focused on. This image uses a smoke machine, and that is one of the biggest drivers in terms of texture and focus in the image. So I really wanted to make sure that that smoke came alive and was the best it could be. And here I'm going to be retouching this image. This is just opened and that's it. I have done a little bit of raw adjustments in Picture 1. I want to be clear that I'm talking about finessing. I am very happy with this image as is, with just maybe a little cropping. I would consider this to be a pretty finished product. However, do I think it could be improved by retouching? Absolutely. And that's what I'm going to focus on today. And I use the word finessing because this isn't about changing anything in any kind of great detail. It's literally just about taking the image that I have in front of me and manipulating it a little bit to be better. So to start this off, I want to kind of show a few of the areas that I'm going to be concentrating on and why. And the obvious, I would say, is my softbox at the top here. The headroom in my studio isn't as high as I'd like it to be. I have an 8-foot ceiling, and that leaves me with some kind of limitations in terms of headroom. And when I have things that rise up like this smoke, I'm left with limited options. So I chose to capture the softbox in the piece because I figured it would be easier to edit out than cutting lower, where it would be, actually cut out down to something like here, and losing those tendrils of smoke that come up here that really kind of let that piece just create that verticality. So something I really love about this piece is the fact that there is a lot of movement throughout it, and that makes me really happy. When I look at this piece, there's a couple things that I really like. I really like that there is a lack of light down here. This gives me a lot of negative space to kind of play in, and there's also a lot of just shape that's going on that I don't have to rely on this area to have data in it. I don't have to rely on this area to be seen. It can fade to black and, be able to create a lot of movement and space with just that black. One of the things that I really loved about this image, and the reason I chose to work on it, especially for this editing video, is because of this area here. I really love seeing that detail, and her hair feels lit up without too much light being on it. And that's one of the things that we'll work on finessing. I want to bring this out more. And same thing with this belt area. When I crop this image to bring it into the editing software, and I'm using Affinity Photo, so that's why you'll see a little bit of differences in the tools and the way that it's set up. I chose to keep this a little bit wider on this side than maybe the crop that I eventually wanted to have. And I'm actually going to end up expanding this side a little bit here. We want this side to be pushed out just a little bit more. The first thing I talk about is, this area that I want to have here. We of course have this very obvious thing I need to get rid of. There's also, in case you can't see it here, there's this strap that comes down from the modifier in the background. That's unfortunately something I missed when I was shooting, so I have to get rid of that. Another thing that I'm going to end up working on is her hair. I feel like it can be messy. It feels pretty rock and roll. I like that, but just some of these flyaways and areas back here, we can calm this just a little bit to create a little bit more of a profile on that hair. Those flyaways are going to be something that I take care of. I also want to fix this jacket a little bit, and this is just a personal preference. I love this curve. I love how this curve really plays on the movement here, and it kind of works in both directions. There's a force, but to me it just is a little bit of a curve too much. So I'm going to see if I can bring that in and just calm it just a little bit more into something like that. Just let it bring in a little bit from the edge. Finally, we're going to go in and do some modifications in the face and on her skin. I want to clarify that I don't think there's anything wrong with any of this, but do I think I could finesse it and improve it? Absolutely. A few of those things that we're going to do is we're going to change the nose shape just a little bit, just to make it a hair more delicate. We're going to change this jawline just a little bit, just to modify that shape into a little bit more of a straighter shape. And then, of course, I'm just going to do some skin toning and make sure that this texture doesn't overwhelm from what you're looking at. All right, so let's dive into the edit here and start showing you some of the things that I'm going to be doing. So let's take care of the big problems first. Okay, so I'm going to start with the softbox and get rid of that and try to make sure that the background is blended as well as possible. It can't just be patterns, it has to be nice and random. Move into the hair retouching, get rid of those flyaways, make sure that we're blending that as well. I'm no master hair retoucher, so there's a lot of things that I'm trying to learn technique-wise to make sure that looks natural. I really want to talk about why I like the composition and why I think this works. The biggest thing is because of this upward momentum. There's a lot of movement upwards, and I really like that. But part of what's nice is you have this triangle shape that allows you to really focus on that upward momentum. And there's some decent lines that are pushing your eye this way, and there's some decent lines that are pushing your eyes that way. So it ends up having this really powerful upwards force. And the lack of detail in this area really allows that force to be on the upper side. All your light is here. So with that in mind, I want to make sure that this is our main focus. The rest of this stuff in the background here is really just secondary. So this area in particular is drawing too much attention because it's lighter. So I'm going to make sure to kind of diminuate that. So again, when we're talking about that finessing, and that's because I want to create that shape to really allow that to come through. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to work on her hair and her skin. Let's start with the skin. We're actually going to do some frequency separations so we can get that done and then have our base layers that we can play with. So I want to go ahead and go do the nose and the chin and the neck. And there's a little bit of a trick to keeping that natural, and that's all about the proportions. You have to make sure that they all fit into what the face represents. I'm then going to jump into the frequency separation to correct the skin a little bit. And there's a little bit of a technique to that as well. And if you don't know it, there's plenty of lessons we can go through with that. The next thing I want to do now is we're going to clean up the face a little bit more. What I mean by that is we're just going to make sure that the tonality of this is a little softer. We're going to need these next layers for the rest of the project anyway, so I'm going to show you my method, tell you why I do it, and then it's up to you to create your own version of this. This is what I do. I create an adjustment layer. I'm going to get a curves layer, add a mask to it. So now the whole thing is masked out. Then the bottom layer is going to be my screen, which serves as a dodge layer. Then I'm going to duplicate that layer and turn the top one to multiply. I find that this works best for me. This is what I like to do. It is a little tedious, but it honestly works the best for me. You have to figure out yours. Some people want to work quicker and they want to do it a certain way, and that's totally fine. Now you might say, why don't you just do all of this in AI? And really the answer is because it's about critical thinking. I want to make the decisions. I don't want a computer to make the decisions for me. Being able to focus on the answers that I think are best and what work for me as an artist are what I want to be able to do, which means I have to practice my critical thinking abilities. I have to practice thinking about what I want to look a certain way, and more than anything, why. So I'm going to even out the skin here. I want to make sure that those tones are nice and even. And then I'm adding eyelashes while I'm here because as much as they're there, it's better to pop them just a little bit more. And I'm going to jump into the hair highlights. I really wanted to bring these out, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, just because I love having it there. Let's just make it a little bit more evident that this hair is intentional. Then the belt buckle, same thing. We want to pop that just a little bit and make sure that that is seen, but at the right level. Now we're going to finish some of these details in the jacket, the zippers, the buttons, some of those leather highlights to make sure that that really pops, and know that we can see these with intention because those details are part of the story. Here's a lesson that I'm going to tell you about, and it comes from personal experience, including this time, where Anything bad could have happened at any time, and this program could have shut down. I have not saved this document yet. That is a problem. I got too into what I was doing and I didn't focus on what happens if this thing shuts down. So the most important thing I can say is make sure you save often, hit that, Apple S or create on your Wacom tablet, your Wacom pen, maybe one of the buttons can become a save button and you can press that every couple of minutes just to make sure that you are saving as you go. It is important to do things like that, and you can see that I have the top button as my save button. So let's go ahead and finish the skin off. There's just a little bit more evening out to do in that little part of her neck, and then dive into the smoke. The smoke is really specific where I want to bring out those highlights of the whites, so painting them in by hand means that I can follow those lines and really make them a bit more prominent. I can even add a few tendrils in a certain spot where like, okay, if this is a negative area and I just want to give that some detail, and then we're going to texturize it with some noise, and that's because the smoke particles aren't solid, so if I have a solid paint, it's going to look a little different, even in those tiny areas. So texturizing it, making sure it works. Then we're going to go make sure that we counteract those highlights with some low lights, add in some shadows in different areas, and it's actually just diminuting it. So darkening the whole area is a big part of it. But then you also have to do the little spots as well, just to keep it organic. If it's too uniform, it's really going to stand out. So I'm trying to make sure that as I add lights, I also add darks. And that is really just a matter of following the organic pieces. It's something that I enjoy doing because I get to make those decisions about what's prominent and what's going to fall to the background. We're towards the end of the edit here and just seeing those pieces finish up. Now we can do the cropping, figure out exactly how that composition is going to figure out, adding a little bit of the black to the sides that I mentioned in the beginning so that it just has a little bit more on that side. And there we go. We got a nice finished piece. Add a vignette and call it a day. After watching this video, I hope that you took something away from it, whether it was learning a new technique, or maybe how to approach a retouch, or hopefully about how to think about things critically. Thinking about art and how to approach new creative ideas is something that gives me endless joy. Hopefully you stuck to the end of this video because that's something that brings you joy too. I wanted to share this video on YouTube because I really love the details. That's what makes me happy. And I was hoping that it would make you happy too. Thank you very much for watching this. I hope it was helpful. I would love to hear what you would like to see next. Comment below what you'd like to see. I'd love to show you some more things. And make sure you hit that follow button.